low protein is messing you up on your ketogenic diet. Stop worrying about too much protein and concern yourself with getting sufficient protein. Okay, so a lot of people are using low carbohydrate approaches, a ketogenic diet to try to lose body fat and to regain metabolic flexibility, the ability to burn both fat and glucose efficiently, or to improve mental clarity, cognition. A lot of people are shifting to a ketogenic diet after leaving nutrient deficient, dangerous plant-based diets, vegan diet, vegetarian diet. A lot of people are jumping to a high-fat approach, both because of the popularity of it right now. It's become quite the fad over the last few years, but also because it freaking works. That's why it's so popular. Now, using the word fad is a bit strong, and it has become a little bit over the top with the keto marketing crap, with the exogenous ketones, with the people parroting the same old misinformation like restrict your protein, guzzle as much fat as you can. Now, there are aspects of it that are faddy, like all the crazy products out there, but people are catching on because it works. A ketogenic diet is one of the most powerful approaches for maintaining stable blood glucose levels, maintaining low levels of hunger, low insulin levels, and that allows us to tap into our body fat and to burn it easily, effectively, and efficiently. Now, there are 3 macronutrients that we're concerned with when we're looking at a ketogenic diet. A lot of people are so hyper concerned with getting a bunch of fat in the diet and keeping the carbs low. Right? The 2 energy macros, fat and carb, out of those 2 macros, one of them is not necessary for us to ever eat at all, and that's carbohydrate. Now, fat, there are essential fatty acids. There are fat-soluble vitamins that we all require. So we do require dietary fat. But carbohydrate, we don't need. There are parts of our body, there are parts of the brain that run on carbs. There are certain cells, like astrocytes, that need glucose. Your body will actually create glucose from the backbone of fatty acids, glycerol, and certain amino acids like glutamine and other glucogenic amino acids through a process called gluconeogenesis. Now, this is just a scientific term for your body turning other substrates into glucose, because we don't need to eat glucose. Now, we have a narrow bandwidth of blood sugar that we need to maintain in order to maintain energy levels, in order to be alive. And our body does that very intelligently through the process of gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is not the enemy of mankind. Gluconeogenesis is not the nemesis of ketosis. Gluconeogenesis is required for a ketogenic diet. It's required for us to be healthy. We need glucose. We need glucose in parts of the body throughout the day. And if we don't have a constant IV drip of nutrients coming in, what is our body going to do? Without gluconeogenesis, we couldn't fast, we couldn't be in ketosis, and we wouldn't be alive. So the body's very, very intelligently designed, and the body knows how to make glucose when we don't eat it. Now, dietary fat is the macro that we're using for energy on a ketogenic diet. A lot of people make the mistake of just focusing on eating as much fat as they can on keto. Remember, not everybody doing keto is trying to lose weight. So many people will be eating a significantly more amount, higher level of fat than people who are trying to lose weight. But we can burn fat both from the body or from the plate on keto. So people who are trying to lose weight don't need to be focused on eating as much butter as they can. We don't need to be taking a bunch of exogenous ketones. We want to make our own ketones from body fat. And we're not going to do that efficiently if we don't get sufficient protein. So many people out there are restricting protein for fear of gluconeogenesis because they think that it's so necessary to elevate their blood ketones all the time. Ketones are a side effect of this diet. We're not just doing this diet to maintain super high blood ketones if we're trying to lose body fat. In fact, what I've found with working with thousands of clients over the years is that maximum body fat loss usually occurs between like 0.5 and 1.5 and on beta hydroxybutyrate levels in the blood. But I don't recommend that my clients measure their blood ketones. I'm just going by what I've seen the trend being when the ones who do measure their ketones report back to me. Now, measuring ketones is a waste of money in my opinion. Unless you're epileptic, I would save your money and purchase good quality protein sources like grass-fed ribeyes, right? Like organ meats and good quality foods. Use your money for that rather than spending your money on these ketone strips. You could spend 10 bucks a day measuring your dang blood ketones. What does it tell you? You've got ketones in your blood. In the beginning of a ketogenic diet, ketones tend to be super elevated because we're not using them efficiently. Right? When you're on a glucose-based diet, when you're burning glucose as your fuel rather, are you looking for super high blood glucose as a signal that you have good metabolic health and that you're doing really well? No. You want stable, low blood sugar. I don't understand why this assumption that higher blood ketones are somehow better in all contexts is being made. Now, of course, for neurodegenerative diseases, for epileptic children, it can be very important to maintain higher blood ketones, but that doesn't mean you restrict protein to the detriment of the person using this diet. People are restricting protein to such an extent that they are gaining body fat because their hunger is so high. Their satiety hasn't dropped down yet. They're putting fat on their body when they want to be losing it. We get clients that come to us in both, private coaching and our Keto and Carnivore Collective, our group coaching that we do every month. We get so many people coming to us who started keto and have been drastically under-eating protein on the advice, the piss-poor advice from ideologue gurus and from people who are just parroting shit that they've heard on the internet. These people are under-eating protein dramatically. I'm talking about like 30, 40 grams of protein I've seen people eating, and these are, grown men and women told to eat such low amounts of protein that they are losing muscle mass, gaining fat, not digesting food well, losing hair, feeling like crap, all due to protein deficiency. When you get enough protein, your hunger is going to drop. When you get enough protein, the insulin to glucagon ratio when your carbohydrates are low are going to be very favorable for glucagon, which is an energy releasing hormone. I suggest everybody check out Dr. Benjamin Bickman's talk on the insulin-glucagon ratio, the importance of glucagon. So many people are focused on just insulin levels when there is this intricate dance between these two hormones that regulates energy balance and production. So when you get enough protein, you're not going to be hungry. When you get enough protein, you're going to make sure that your immune system's working well as well. Low protein can cause low immune function, poor liver health, edema, swelling, puffiness, chronic inflammation, poor digestion. Many things that people experience on a daily basis. Many negative consequences on a ketogenic diet when people are first starting out are just from lack of protein. Now, even outside of the context of a ketogenic diet, if people would get enough protein, they would stop eating so much junk food as well. There have been studies. There's actually an entire hypothesis called the protein leverage hypothesis, which holds that when you get sufficient protein, you won't eat the other macros so much. So they've done studies where they let people eat ad libitum after calorie restriction. They let them eat ad libitum and they give them different macronutrient profiles and basically like a buffet. You end up finding that once people hit a certain protein threshold, we stop eating the other macros. Now, salt can have the same effect as protein as far as satiety goes. Right? We get enough sodium, we will stop seeking these other foods. Sometimes we think we're hungry, but we're just looking for salt. Think about when people are reaching for a bag of potato chips. It's not just the greasy, carby stuff. The salt there is a major trigger as well for eating. We crave sodium. The processed food companies know this and they weaponize these foods against us. We've got to get enough salt in the diet. We've got to get enough protein in the diet. So many people are out there under eating protein, not getting their satiety levels up and not getting the benefits of ketosis that they desire. Now, what is enough protein? Right? A lot of these people telling you to restrict your protein are just saying, yeah, eat 80% fat, 10% protein. That is such terrible information. Because if you're trying to lose body fat, are you going to decrease your protein levels? No, protein brings satiety. We want to keep protein stable and manipulate fat levels on a ketogenic diet in order to regulate how much body fat or dietary fat we're burning. How much protein is enough? Well, one of the easiest answers to that I've given over the years has been about 0.8 grams per pound of your lean body mass. Now, in studies on weight training, that is found to be the optimum level of protein for building and maintaining lean muscle mass. It's also a great level of protein for inducing satiety in people. But of course, there's going to be a range. Some people aren't used to eating protein. Some people prefer to eat a little bit less. Some people are going to want to eat way more protein. In fact, people doing a carnivorous style keto diet are going to find themselves eating significantly more amounts and significantly more protein. Does that mean that they're not in ketosis? No. I've been doing a carnivorous keto diet for a little bit over a year and a half now. Still in ketosis whenever I measure, which I don't measure very often because I'm not so concerned with it. But very, very interesting that my ketones are still in that ketogenic range, even eating higher protein than before. So minimum for most people, protein about 0.8 grams per pound of your lean body mass. That'll do it. Is that too much? Absolutely not. Can you do with a little bit less? Some people would. Can you do with more? Absolutely. But make sure to get enough of it. Too many people out there afraid of the gluconeogenesis monster don't realize that gluconeogenesis is required for ketosis, and we need to be able to create glucose in our body. Something that people forget is that gluconeogenesis also can make glucose out of the backbone of fatty acids. None of these people are telling you to avoid fat in order to avoid excess glucose production. Gluconeogenesis has been shown in all the studies that I've seen to be a demand-driven process rather than a supply-driven process, meaning that eating more protein doesn't increase gluconeogenesis. Your body needing to perform gluconeogenesis knows when it needs to and will do it. It's demand-driven, not supply-driven. They did studies where they just infused into the bloodstream a bunch of glucogenic amino acids, and it did not increase gluconeogenesis at all. Now, of course, I guess it could be argued that gluconeogenesis does occur in the liver, and so perhaps that study wouldn't really be the best way of gauging that. But all the studies I've seen on diabetics, pre-diabetics, have shown that. Well, first of all, they've shown that protein is the most important macro to eat when you have insulin resistance, right? But it's also shown that gluconeogenesis is a demand-driven, not supply-driven process. So get enough protein. Quit listening to the keto repeato parrots out there telling you to undereat on the protein and to overeat on the junks. I mean, people are eating loads of processed and refined MCT oil, thinking that this is some sort of a health panacea. Undereating protein, eating way too many cruciferous vegetables and way more vegetables than they need, and overeating fat dramatically and getting gut issues, digestive issues, and just not getting the results they want. Get enough protein. It's required for health no matter what diet you're on. And quit overcomplicating things. You can find more at primaledgehealth.com. Check out the Ketogenic Edge cookbook, the training manual for low carb, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine. My wife worked on that for a year and a half. It's got a whole section on how to make organs, the most nutrient-dense parts of the animal. It's a book that's meant to train you how to prepare nutrient-dense keto foods. All of the recipes have macros. They're all fat loss-friendly macros. They're not overloading on the fat, and they all have protein-sufficient macros, which is really, really important. Get enough protein, folks. I can't drive the point home hard enough. So I'll see you next time. Go live your lives.